All right. Open up. Shalom, shalom. Hey, first and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakakadash. The honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, who rule well and teach well. Shalom to the hopefully like men that scattered abroad, pushing his truth without sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And also shalom to you very few sincere sisters that's taking heed and getting in order in these last days. Right on, brother. I'm your brother. I'm one. Come to the quick video. Lord was edifying. Right, and really just going into a quick thing I saw at work, and it was actually uh 2 days ago. But my phone been messing up lately. But yeah, and then like I said, like the title of the video is "And Just Like That." So pretty much I'm at work at the break room. It was really a faith booster for myself. So I thought I'd be able to share it with you guys as well. But we in the break room. One of the Jakes, older cat. He ain't ate. It was break time. He wanted to eat, and he was joking with one of the other guys that he know. And he was like, "Damn, bro, you gonna break no bread with me? You gonna let me eat? You gonna let me starve?" And he was like, "Man, what I brought for me is for me. I ain't trying to share." And he like, "Damn, man." He like, and so Jake really know about the scriptures a little bit. And he told the man, he was like, "Hey, man, it's better to give than receive, man." And Jake was pretty much scoffed at it. He's like, "Well, this food that I got is for me. I ain't really trying to. I ain't trying to give it up. You know." So, Jake was he was like, "All right, it's cool. I ain't tripping. Eat your food, man, eat your food. But hey, the Lord do say he gonna make sure those folks eat. So I'm just like, damn, Jake's saying some real stuff right now. So everybody, some of the guys kind of laughed at him, you know. And so I'm just sitting down, just quiet, not saying nothing. I'm like, damn, he really saying something. I'm thinking about these scriptures in my head, and we only had it was only like a 15-minute break. So 10 minutes then rolled by, and next thing you know, one of the other guys came in and was like, "Hey, Ron, I bought you some Chick-fil-A." He said, "I bought you some Chick-fil-A," and everybody just looked at Ron like, "Damn, what the fuck?" You know what I'm saying? Because he just told everybody, "Hey, man, it's better to give than receive, man." You know, and pretty much like how I boosted my faith was the Lord really just showed it through that situation right there. That Jake was hungry. You know what I'm saying? And he asked one of the guys, "Can you get something to eat? Some of his food?" Even though he was kind of joking, but he don't see the response on the brother. And you know, next thing you know, long and behold, another dude came through the door, right? And he told the dude Ron, like, "Hey, man, I bought you some food, bought you some Chick-fil-A." When Jake got the food, he said, "See, man, touch better give than receive." Because the dude Ron, I ain't gonna lie, he a good, sincere, older cat, you know. And he told me, like, "Man, I told him it's better to give than receive," right? Which is inside, the scripture, you know. And so he just boosted my faith because hey, in the time that we coming into, man, the Lord gonna make sure we eat, you know. He gonna make sure we eat, and I know I'm gonna lie, so I'm gonna be able to actually read the scripture word for word, But if a brother may come across the video, you know, those scriptures that's going to Eden. One of my favorites is Psalms 37 and 19 in the NLT version. It talks about how they won't be disgraced in the evil time. Even in famine, they will have more than enough. And so that was really what crossed my mind in that watching that scenario play out. And the Lord, like I said, the Lord really showed it right in and there, right before my eyes. And like I said, it happened just like that. You know, And so, as these times go on, we shouldn't have the mindset of what we're gonna eat in that day of a food famine. Right, the Lord gonna provide, man. Right, that's what He says in the book of 2 Corinthians 16 and 74 and 75. But the main point was He will be our guide. He gonna guide us to the food. He make or the food gonna come to us. We got examples of that. You know, and also in the book of Isaiah chapter 65 and 13, if I'm mistaken. Yeah, 13 and 14. Say, "My servant shall eat, my servant shall drink." And the Lord showed me that in a time of society is still so called intact. So how much more in a time of all hell break loose? It's a real food famine. Inflation, hyperinflation. You know, because in Ecclesiastes chapter 2 and 10, it talks about how the Lord, the men that called upon Him, look at the generations of old and see have ever any was confounded. That called on Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So we won't be confounded in that day. The Lord will make sure we eat. And the movie I like to go off of was that Leave the World Behind. That was on Netflix. You know, it shows, man. At the end of the girl was eating, whatever she had wanted. And also, a lot of brothers' videos I was just watching, and when it comes to that, as far as like end time Jacob's trouble type scenarios, man, being led to food by the angels. So we really have nothing to worry about, honestly. But yeah, that testimony like literally happened before my eyes, man. It was just beautiful to see how fast the Lord worked in that situation, right? He literally, because everybody was laughing at the dude, Jake, the name was Ron. They laughed at him, even though he was making a little joke, but it was the laughing that they was doing. It was, you can tell that like they didn't really care that he didn't have nothing to eat, you know. And I mean, just like that, I mean, the dude came through and they gave him like a chicken sandwich and so I think some hash browns, you know. And hey, he just looked at him and he was just like, "See, I told you better to get them receive, man." So it was just beautiful before my eyes how the Lord really just worked just that fast. And like I said, gave me a faith booster, man. The Lord willing, it was a faith booster for you guys that's listening. So, but that was really it. I'm gonna close out. Yeah. Matter of fact, what's the other one? What's that? I think it's in the book of Matthew. I'm thinking of, it's talking about like how the birds can't talk about how the birds can't sow or gather into barns, and He feed them. And it talks about also how you think that the Lord's not going to feed us, right? Us men of the Lord, we've been doing all this labor, you know. So that was just a quick testimony, really, that I seen personally, and how the Lord just really just fed a man just that fast. But I'm gonna close out, Lord willing, it was edifying and quick and uplifting. Call all you how about Shemi Al Shabbat, Shem Kakadash. Hey, and on to the next one. Shalom.